we actually lost like 50 plus horsepower. A lot of people say like the fk8 looks a lot like Gundams.
It does.
It probably could have taken that power level. It's really just how hard we were running it for how long we were doing it. The tuning theory with front wheel drive is
What's up, guys? Here with Jeff Ting.
What's up? Hello. Nice to see you.
It's a very, very cool car you got here.
Thank you.
Let's begin with how you got into cars, first of all, and how you got into track days.
Okay, how I got into cars was back in I was a pretty late bloomer. Back in high school, I grew up with like Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious came out like in elementary school, and then during high school, I was watching Initial D. I think Initial D is really what kicked it off for me. And then once I got into college, like I got my own car, I canyoned a ton, and I would joke with people, we go through like a set of tires every month, and it was kind of crazy. My car was just like powered by FAFSA. I was in the military, so I had the GI Bill that covered most of my schooling costs, and then I still had FAFSA, so that was just going straight into my Honda Fit at the time. And that was a time when was it RT615s? Those were like 100 a piece. So it was just like, dude, tires, it's cool, man. And I would go up to GMR, Azusa, ACH, a ton during that time. And I stayed in the canyons for a while.
Did you ride the gutter?
What the hell is that? Broke a couple of wheels riding the gutter. No, there's no gutter up there. You ride the gutter, you go off the mountain, man. But then I started tracking, just like casually, because a couple of the canyon guys, they're like, hey, let's try and do some track events and stuff. And it was pretty casual at the time, wasn't chasing any times or anything. Forgot what I did. It mostly just did like Streets of Willow because that mimicked like the Toge feel the most. Very low speed, very few high speeds. The only time I remember like my track time was at Button Willow. My first visit there was 2:15 or something extremely embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think I messaged you about it. I was like, FRS 2:15, first time at Button Willow.
Usually that's how it goes, right?
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like if it's the first couple of times to Button Willow and they're doing like 220 plus, hey, don't worry about it, man. Just go have fun. So we started tracking. That was like 2009. I started like just casually dabbling into the track. And then around COVID time, I had 2 kids and I was like, okay, I see kind of the end line of when I'm gonna be able to stop having fun. So then like I looked at GTA and I was like, dude, I've always wanted to compete, Global Time Attack. And that's kind of how this started. I told my wife like, hey, I kind of want to compete. At first it was just GTA Finals, and then it just kind of morphed into all of GTA and then dabbling in some of Grid Life. Like I talked to a couple of shops like, hey, because at that time, like I'm a canyon guy, like I don't know anything about tracking really, and like setting up cars properly. In the canyons, you just run what you brung, right? I eventually teamed up with AutoTune, and we kind of started the AutoTune racing program. They at the time hadn't built anything really for competition, so we made kind of a pact, like, hey, we're gonna grow together. We're gonna share the successes together. We started that 2021, I think, was our first competition, GTA Finals. That was a dip in cold water. We didn't perform as well as we'd hoped. I mean, we just kept going and eventually did it again, blew the motor, fixed it, came back. 2023 was probably the year that you would write a storybook about, because like that's probably where we had the most drama, but also we had our most successes. So
you told us you started with the Honda Fit.
Yeah.
Did you have anything other than Honda Fit? You sound like you're a Honda guy.
I'm mostly a Honda guy. I actually dabbled in like, I alluded to the Toyota FRS, and then I had a S14 for a brief period. Yeah. It's
the best car in the world.
It was a nice car. It drove really nice. But at the time, like I was still like canyoning, so like I didn't know what I had. It was just like, it's a car, it's fun. But most of my cars are Hondas, and most of them are Civics. So I had the Honda Fit. Before that, I had built it was a 96 EK hatch with the K-swap. And at the time, it was like early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
When the K-series just came out, we were like one of the first ones with the Hassport kit and everything. We had to like, Rywire had to come in and make a custom loom and everything. It took 7 months to get built. I had it running for a month and then it got stolen off my driveway.
Jeez.
It was so heartbreaking. And then after that, I got the itch again. I wanted another K-swap, and I built a second basically a clone of the EK K-swap that I had, which is but it was a 2000 EK hat, this time with the K24. I had like PTSD from my first EK, so like I couldn't drive that anywhere or park it anywhere, so like I think I had it running for like 6 months and I just sold it. I was like, I'm gonna sell it before someone could steal it. And instantly I just regretted it. And then recently I actually built an EG with the K-swap.
Oh.
With the K24, the JDM K24, and it was a rocket ship. And then eventually sold it to Matt. That he had it and put an ungodly amount of money into it.
This is Matt.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood.
Pop the hood.
And Eric.
Howdy.
Eventually he sold it, but that was a fun little car, man. There's nothing like an NA like Honda Civic where that you could just beat on all day. That car, like, you could drive for the entire 20, 30, 40 minute session. If you're at SDC, you just drive all day, just pit for fuel and then go back out. But this car, like, you do 2 laps, you'd be lucky if it doesn't overheat.
All right, well, let's try to get into the car a little bit.
Sure.
What year is it?
This is a 2018 Honda Civic Type R.
Okay.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Man.
Known internally, belovedly as Barbados. A lot of people say like this fk8 looks a lot like Gundams.
It does.
That's like the one Gundam where it through the entire series, it's constantly getting modified, broken and fixed, and it just gets like more and more crazy. And that, I feel like that kind of embodies this car a lot.
Gotcha.
Like I told you before we turned the camera on, this car was built for GTA enthusiast class. So we basically opened the rule book and looked at the upper limits of what we could do. You'll see like a lot of, it looks crazy from the outside with like the body kit and the livery and stuff, but once you start listening to what the mod lists are and you look inside the car, it's full interior. The suspension is very basic, all because we're limited by what we can do from the rule book, right? So the suspension is RSR Sports Eye coilovers, completely off the shelf. Spring rates are 10K front, 13K rear. Brakes is completely stock, Giro discs. I have CSG pads. Don't ask me which ones. I just talked to David at CSG, and whatever he recommends me, I'm like, all right, I'll throw those on. We're not allowed to do any bushings, so it's all stock bushings. We have white line, rear sway bar. All the RV6 arms, we're allowed to have all the alignment arms. And then I have like an exhaust shop special exhaust. One of my friends lifted it up. He like works on exhaust, and then he gets so upset when every time he sees it because it's such a piece of crap. and it's a good thing we don't have this thing on the lift, because you'll see it's just so garbage. But oh yeah, the car runs a cat. I had a HKS catback.
Yeah.
In order to get it like competition ready, we had to chop it to hell. So we like chopped off the resonator and then welded on just a straight pipe. We had to chop up another part of the pipe and then weld on a cat. The welds are horrendous and the bends are horrendous. So we actually, it's so funny. We had the HKS exhaust on and we dynoed it. And then after we threw this whole like chop shop exhaust on, we actually lost like 50 plus horsepower. And I'm like, oh God. But like we had to put the cat on, so it is what it is. Yeah.
How much power are you making now?
On MS109, we're making about 550 to the hub. This is at Church's dyno. And I always tell people like, hey, you can't compare dyno to dyno. Like if someone's comparing like hub dyno to like Mustang, roller dynos, like you're gonna see like 100 to 200 horsepower variance depending on what kind of car. But yeah, 550 on MS109. On 100, we're making about 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
100 octane. Okay.
Yeah, 100 octane.
Okay. Where do you even buy these?
MS109 you have to buy from a VP dealer. So there's actually one in Corona.
Okay.
So every time we have a competition, we'll make a trip out there and buy like 5-gallon jugs.
Okay.
Not 10-gallon jugs.
So you have a switch that...
Well, we do have a switch where we pump all the fuel out.
Okay.
But there's no switch to like go between different fuels.
I
we
see.
just have to empty out the fuel tank.
Change the tune and back on 91?
Yeah. So we're on Hondata. A lot of people, because of the Motec dash, think we're on Motec. We're just on we're on Hondata Flash Pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And how much does the car weigh?
It's full fat, man. I think we corner balanced it at 3,300. So that's with half a tank and me in it. So I guess without me, it's about 3,100. I think I was competing at HFF once, and they actually have scales. And I think I was the fattest car there, man. Every car was like 2,000 something, and then damn near broke the scale with this car.
Especially when you're talking 90s Honda.
Yeah.
They're pretty light, so.
Yeah.
So 3,100, 500 horsepower, and you're able to do 153. 153.
Yeah.
That's quick.
And that's on these tires. So again, this is a Global Time Attack Enthusiast class, so we're limited by tire. These are 275, 35, 18 Goodyear F1 Supercar 3s.
Okay.
Not the 3Rs, but the 3s. So these are 220 treadwear.
Right.
Great tires, by the way. So if anyone's asking like recommendations for track tires where they kind of do mixed duty, and if you're not trying to go for a PB and you just want to spin laps, these tires are fantastic.
Do you ever get an urge to just put on like
200s?
Yeah, 200s.
I
And go
have
all
a
out?
full set at home, and I'm just like, oh, dude, I want to go. We've already finished our enthusiast class campaign, so the plan now is to go up to street class and beyond. So we've already set a plan in place to like what the next steps are and what we're trying to accomplish in street class, in Global Time Attack, and street mod, in Grid Life. Part of that is strapping on 200s and seeing where we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, my friends are like, oh, hey, you could probably shave like 2 seconds just by throwing on 200s. But I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not too familiar with the tire. I've just been driving this tire for like 4 years now. Okay. So I'm not sure how just throwing on 200s would feel like, you know? I don't have that much experience. So I'm not gonna like fool myself into thinking I'm just throw tires on and instantly be like almost sub 50s. That would be insane. You know, if we throw on 200s and I could do like a 51, 52, I feel like I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus the weight too, you know,
we
losing some weight.
Type R Jose Mejia, his car is like 2,900 pounds. So we know that's probably where we can get to in street class.
Yeah, it's a good benchmark, right?
Yeah. So we have to find like 200-300 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Starting at the heart of it, this is actually a essentially a four piston full motor.
Really?
We pieced it together. I blew the motor back in 22 March at a Grid Life event in Streets of Willow, developed rod knock. And it turns out when we took the motor apart that we spun a rod bearing, likely from overheating and oil starvation and stuff. And so we sent luckily we didn't window the block. Once it started knocking, I just turned the car off and towed it home.
Good.
And we sent it over, and they were able to salvage most of it. It had to get re-sleeved, so it's got iron sleeves now. Pistons, rods, and then proprietary race bearings. The crankshaft is stock. And then one of my other friends, he had a full 4-piston motor. Actually, no, he just had the head. And then he had a built bottom end. But he had a four piston head, and it was like he checked every option box there was when he ordered it. So it's port and polished. We have the TR2 cams, we have all the valve train. So we mated that together, and essentially it's a 4-piston motor. You could see maybe through there.
The marking?
The 4-piston marking on the head.
I see it.
And then the turbo kit is a Rampage kit. We're running the Garrett G25 660. Kind of have regrets there. I wish we went bigger.
Always, right?
Yeah. But the idea was like, I just want response. You know, I don't need that much power because at the time we were a stock transmission. I was like, I don't want to blow the trans. We ended up doing that anyway. Moving to the trans, we were running stock box with RV6 fourth gear. Funny story there. Eric opened up, was it the HPD manual? Because HPD runs the RV6 fourth gear, and then HPD recommends a replacement of the gear every 24 hours. And then by that time, we had run it for 2 years. And then we looked at each other and we're like, how many hours have we been running? And legit, next event we went out, we blew the fourth gear. And I'm like, I guess we were at 24 hours. And it was so weird when we when the fourth gear went, when we opened the box up, I could send you photos. You know how like typically when you overpower a gear, what you expect is all the teeth to get shaved out, right? So when we opened the box, the teeth were still on the gear, but the gear had snapped in half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was like discoloring in some of the forks and like the sleeves and stuff. And what the builders thinks happened is that we overheated it too many times. And that just like, because only fourth gear had that discoloring and like all the associated like gears and sleeves and stuff. It probably could have taken that power level. It's really just how hard we were running it for how long we were doing it. After we blew it, we went full PPG first to fifth gear, and then we have the OS Gaiken LSD, and that's been working fantastic.
Is that a one-way, 1.5 way?
1.5.
Thank you for holding the hood, by the way.
With Type Rs, fk8s, I don't know if they solved the problem with the FL5, but cooling is a huge issue.
Yeah.
They didn't. You could probably like stock out of the factory if you're really like, if you push the car, you're gonna overheat the car within a session. There's people who can't like during warmer, anything above like 80 ambient, you can't push the car for more than like 1 or 2 hot laps. When I first started building the car, a lot of the focus was on developing a cooling package so that you could finish like at least 2 hot laps, right? Because you need to get that lap time in. So what we have is a PWR core with the custom dual pass end tanks, HKS out of the box, off the shelf oil cooler, but that was located over there.
Okay.
But because we got the Varus and then we blocked off all the side vents for aerodynamics, we moved it to the center. And then if you look through there, it's actually ducted. And we also ducted the radiator, trying to just jam all the air in. So this would typically be open, and we made this jam so that it force feeds all the air through just to maximize our cooling. There's some solutions out there for fk8s where it's like dual radiator and like double oil cooler, but it's like for a time attack car, you really just need 1 to 2 laps.
Right.
We're not trying to endurance race it, and at some point you gotta wonder like, okay, what's the trade-off with weight and stuff, and like adding more fluid. Like if you have you're doubling the oil lines, like you run the risk of, you know, if one of those pops, you could catch fire easily, more easier than if you just have 1 oil cooler and stuff.
What about the brake? Is that all stock? The master and booster?
It's all stock.
Okay.
The hood. This is actually a FK7, so the base Civic Seibon hood, and then we took the KSR, Ken Swen.
Oh yeah.
He makes just like a vent, and we molded it from an NSX. So anyone who wants like this vent, they could just pop it onto their car. And then these are, I think Anointed Arrow makes these, and we, Young at auto-tuned, cut those up and molded it to the hood.
Okay, so this is a Seibon carbon hood.
Yeah.
With the
KSR vent.
KSR vent, and then
Anointed Arrow side vents.
I thought it came like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very cool looking car.
And then Varus. This is an actual true Varus bumper.
Wow.
And APR. They actually really helped us out. We were at Streets of Willow competing at Grid Life, and then the splitter that we had run had folded and it was like porpoising. It looked like a fish just like going down the front straight. Casey at APR was like, hey, we could build you something. And so within like a week and a half, they turned this around, and it has like tunnels and everything.
Nice. They have 2 different ones, right? They have the one where it's just like 3mm carbon, and then this is actually the composite.
This is the honeycomb. Yeah. If we take off the tape where we damaged it, you can see
it.
the honeycomb.
Okay. Shout out to Casey at APR.
Yeah.
Always helping out time attack guys.
I know.
What about the over fender?
I feel like we were the first ones in like across all part. This is actually the Voltex
S2000?
S2000 AP1. Because we did this pretty early on. It was like 2020. Someone can fact check me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure we were like one of the first ones. And then after that, I feel like I've been seeing them on every freaking car. Like Art of Attack has it on like 3 of their cars. I see them on a couple of other Type Rs and stuff. No gatekeeping here, man.
Looks really nice with the stock fender.
So And anyone who looks at this and they're like, oh, I want to try this, don't make the mistake I did. This is actually the second over fender set that we had. This is AP2, and you see how the AP2 one kind of bumps out a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
If you get the AP1, it's flush. It's just straight. I had no idea.
So you would need the AP1 one.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we talk about the sizing of the wheels?
We didn't.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm running 18, 10.5 plus 22. I always forget the offset. I think it's plus 22, and then 9.5, 18 by 9.5 plus 22 in the rear.
Okay.
Tire size, it's competition limited, but so we're running 275 in the front, 245 in the rear. But I fit up to 315s in the front with this setup. This actually has a 15 mil spacer. So if I take the spacer off, I can fit 315s. Yeah.
How do you like that balance? 275 and 245.
The car plows a lot. It understeers a lot. But like we've been able to mostly tune that out with a couple of like alignment adjustments, disconnecting the front sway bar, adding some toe out and stuff. The way that we have the tire set up right now is like perfect. The tuning theory with front wheel drive is the rear tires are just there to be dragged around. Right. So like the front does all the work. It's the part of the car that's pulling everything. And the rear, it's like you almost don't want it to grip if you could handle that as a skilled driver. Got the Motec C125.
Nice.
The keys are inside, right? Okay, you check this out.
Mate. Oh, what are the two buttons for?
3 different like tacks.
Oh, yeah. You switch around.
So it's just switching between tacks.
Okay. Telling me that's not NAS? Oh, man. Yeah, the steering wheel is...
OMP. I went to this steering wheel mostly because I was running, right after I got this and I was running like a full round steering wheel, it was constantly blocking either the tack or the lights.
I see.
And I didn't feel like paying for like the extra set of shift lights, so I just got a different steering wheel. And it's actually pretty, like people always say like, oh, you know, what happens if you have to go hand over hand? And I can tell you like, it's no problem. Your hand will naturally grab a part of the wheel once you start spinning it.
And the seat, man. Ooh.
Yeah, RMS.
Yeah.
And then RSGs on the other side.
Yeah.
Mismatching harnesses. And then we have Blade Sport harness bar, and then full interior.
Okay.
Stock trunk, stock full fat trunk. And then everything inside is still all intact. Yeah. Everything under there.
Even has a weather pack.
Yeah, I know. And then this is the actual spoon bumper.
Okay. Wow. Does it come with that little thing on the bottom?
Mm-hmm. Okay. That carbon lip is part of the bumper.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of like aesthetic things I want to do to the car, but so much money has just gone into fixing it and like keeping it running and buying tires and stuff that I haven't really had any spare cash for making it pretty.
So Jeff, few questions. Front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive.
I mean, if it's personally like what I like to drive more, front wheel drive. If you're talking about like competing and like if buying a car, I feel like rear wheel drive is probably the way to go.
Turbo versus NA.
That's also a loaded question. If you want to just turn laps and like have a smile on your face, NA. But if you want to go fast, there's no replacement for boost.
What's next for you with this?
Go sub 50.
Any shout outs?
Big shout outs to APR. Shout out to the 2 guys sitting over there, Matt and Eric. Auto-tuned, Monrovia alignment. Shout out to my wife.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for making this video, man.
We'll hope to come back to you when you sub 50. Yeah? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right.